Welcome to all the advanced training candidates to our Cape Conference online training forum. I hope that you'll be blessed as you complete and continue with your requirements for PLA or APLA. Remember to stay focused on the comments down below and to ensure that you receive all the information that you need to complete this requirement and add it to either your Google Drive or to your folder so that testing can be done as soon as you're done with the curriculum. May God bless you, and may you keep focused on what He wants you to do in training yourself to reach the junior youth ministry of your church and also maybe a little bit further into your community. God bless and keep well, and hope to see you soon.
The training. Let's close eyes. Father, thank you that we have this privilege of being together tonight, Lord. And as we come to your throne of grace and mercy, we pray that you may guide us, bless us, and teach us everything that we need to know pertaining to your training, Lord, and being leaders within our churches. And Lord, this is ultimately to be a more servant-orientated disciple for you, that we will point people to the right direction to actually get closer to you, Father. Thank you for hearing our prayers, and thank you for blessing us today. We pray this in your name alone. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Brother Rich. It's over to you.
Good evening, and welcome to tonight's session. Tonight's session, we will basically, as last week, as we've discussed, we will be focusing on the requirement under your personal growth, requirement of your CPR certificate or equivalent. And as we discussed, as I informed the group last week, is that the CPR has changed with the COVID-19 pandemic, and I just want to update you on the changes and also refreshed on the protocols as being stipulated in the requirement. So welcome, and you're more than welcome to, if there's any questions. It's not, although at the end I have a question mark there for questions, but it is interaction. So if there's any comments or questions from your side, you're more than welcome. I don't have a problem with that. I will just share my screen to start off. Okay. Yeah, when we look at CPR as being reflected, can anyone just refresh, because this is update according to our discussion last week. You have done your first aid. Some of them need refreshers that got expired, and some are still in line. So let's look at the update, which is not a full training as we normally do it, where I go to the whole physiology of the respiratory and your blood system and your oxygen, and understand the principles why we are doing CPR. So from this, can anyone just tell me the word CPR, what does it stand for again? Just some refreshment. Anyone? Okay, so I will assist you. If you look at the word CPR, it's for cardio, which refers to the heart, your pulmonary, first lung. Your resuscitation is your action, as you've learned in your level 1 or level 3 first aid training that you received. Just give me an indication before I continue with this. Is there anyone that haven't done the first aid and the CPR so that I can know how to balance the two? Although it's been discussed last week as an update. But is there anyone on the group that haven't done what we're going to talk tonight about? so that I can just know to present and also make.
I've only done first aid. I haven't done CPR.
Is it
So,
not the same thing?
no. The first aid is the whole curriculum pertaining to your first aid procedures of caring for a sick, bleeding, trauma-related injuries, fractures, and that. Your CPR is only the section that focuses on when we have a cardiac arrest, which means the heart is not functioning. So this session is only focused on that part, or it's not a full first aid course. But in your level 1, you are supposed to do your CPR part of level 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, but I will update you and refresh. As I said, this is a refresher, it's an update, it's not a full training, so some of the things you will refresh. So basically your CPR, as I've said, stands for cardio, which refers to your heart, or pulmonary refers to the lungs, and your resuscitation basically refers to your exit, okay? And as leaders, we are expected to take the lead when this emergency happens, in our private capacity or in our club capacity or in our church, wherever we attend, because this is an emergency that can happen. But with COVID-19, there is changes how we will react based on our safety first approach. So like in the past, where you have done your safety and you was having your basic personal protective equipment from a glove point of view and your pocket mask, of COVID-19, things have changed, and this is what our update will contain tonight. Now, when we look at the COVID-19 pandemic, and we see basically it's a virus, it's been spread by respiratory droplets in contact with contaminated surfaces. The first part that we will be focusing on is the section as the virus is spread by respiratory droplets. And this is where the safety point comes for us pertaining to how will we react. We also see with the virus pandemic and the virus itself, the CPR itself, what we have to look at is we'll see in our, as I continue, the disease itself consists of multiple organ failure, and this is where the patient basically required CPR, okay? So it's not only the heart or the lungs. When it comes to the COVID positive patient, it's the multiple organ system failure, basically. And number 2 is that when we have to do CPR, we will look at, can we correct the underlying problem, okay? Now for first aiders, I know it's difficult, that's why you're part of the medical team, so you might be first on the scene, and the medical team might be expanding by the emergency services arrive. And what they will look at is that the cause of collapse, is it that they can correct it or reverse it? And if the answer is no, then they won't do CPR. If the answer is yes, then they will start CPR resuscitation. What's important with the CPR for us is that, as you will see with the Resus Council, I will load, Pastor, I will send you I was supposed to send you the algorithm, what we'll discuss tonight. and we'll see, or you can go on the Resuscitation Council website where we'll have more information pertaining to the COVID-19 CPR algorithms and the reasons why we do this. Is that the safety of the healthcare worker is the most important one with the COVID-19 treatment to our patients. And that's why it's important for us, before we start with the treatment, we have to make sure that we are safe. And you have to have the appropriate PPE, personal protective equipment, so that you can ensure your safety. That's why when you look at your CPR, we normally work at the head section where we will have to blow into the patient's mouth. And this is where the respiratory droplets basically coming from, and the fluid and their virus is basically contained in there. And this is what you will see where the safety comes in from protecting ourselves, and we're not doing the full CPR. Okay, so when we look at your PPE equipment, you will see is that your eye protection. Okay, so you must make sure that your eyes are protected. It's either by having goggles or you have a visor. Number two, you have a surgical mask and not your cloth mask. Okay, it must be a surgical mask when it comes to the treatment of these emergencies. You must have your gloves, and what we advise, if you can, put on a double pair of gloves and your apron. This is the minimum PPE that will assist you pertaining from a safety point of view when we're dealing with patients. What's interesting with the COVID-19 is that you will see that the patients, when it was started, there were signs that was presented to us from how the patient will present himself with a sore throat, with coughing, with sneezing, with an increase in temperature. What we have now in the medical field is that not all the patients present anymore with the signs and symptoms as been presented to us in the past. And that's why for every patient that you will come across where you want to render your first aid or being part of that medical assistance to the patient, is that your personal protective clothing and the safety of yourself, that's number one on the list. Okay? And what I present to you on the slide is your basic PPE. What you will see with your emergency care workers, depending on the emergency, they might also have other PPE that consist of the suit, what you see on TV, what we wear when it comes to certain procedures, like in CPR, where we have to go to advanced level for protection. But for us as first aiders, and for yourself as first responders that might come across this emergency, or it might happen wherever you go. And as leaders, it's important that we are ready for this type of emergencies and to protect ourselves. So let's look at the Resuscitation Council, and just refreshment is number one. You have now your PPE on, and you basically will check for your hazards. Check if there's any dangers. Check if the scene is safe before approaching the person. And then you already have your PPE on. So your safety and your surrounding safety, it's important before you touch even that patient. Number two is assess your patient's level of consciousness. Now, where we have done in the past is where we're tapping and say hello to the patient. You're still going to check if your patient is awake as you approach. Okay? And then you will check if your patient is breathing. So does the chest rise and fall of your patient? Okay? Because that is signs of life. If there's a sign of life that the chest is rising and falling, which means there's still heart is still beating and the lungs is still functioning. And if your victim is unresponsive, not breathing, then you call for help, and your numbers from your cell phone is the 112 or the emergency number of 10177. Okay, so the first step, make yourself safe. Put on your PPE, check for your safety, your surroundings. And number 2, assess your patient's level of consciousness by hello, by having a response from a distance, not tapping and get close to the patient's mouth. Check from a distance is not the look, listen, and feel what we've checked. It's just the hello, and to see if there's any signs of life present. If there's no signs of life, then you activate the EMS. And now at this stage, not all first aiders are trained with the AED, but what you will see in the notes when the referral call for help and the AED, basically the AED is your defibrillated machine, automatic electrical defibrillator machine. And this is what basically you need when it comes to providing emergency treatment. So after you have assessed your patient, you've activated your emergency services, you check your distance, and now it's time for assessing. Has the person shown any signs or symptoms of COVID-19 prior to the collapse? So you will have engagement with the family. Just tell me a little bit of the patient, if they can give you information about the patient from a medical point of view. Is the patient or the patient in close contact with a person maybe with COVID-19? Then your answer might be yes or no. As I said, we protect ourselves from the head section. We're not going to ventilate with your mouth or your pocket mask or your resuscitate that we use. We go over to compression. So you will start your compressions, and your ratio was more steady compressions and 2 ventilations. Okay? In your case, as first aiders, that is not having all the equipment with you, is that you won't ventilate, but you will continue with your compressions if it's needed. So the patient was not having contact, okay? Then your breathing, okay, we're not gonna give breaths based on a safety point of view. So we will continue your compressions for your ratio. And we work as you've been paid, we work for 2 minutes or 4 to 5 cycles. Okay. So this is how we, if there's the information from the patient might be positive, your answer is yes to that one, or patient is the person a suspect on the investigation. It's advised, get a towel, get something that you can cover the patient's mouth and face area and nose area, towel or something to minimize the risk. And again, you continue with your chest compressions. So what is the changes what we have with the CPR, with the first responders? Like what you will see below is that this is the one that we use for the drowning presentation and also for the non-drowning. But what you will see is that you will basically assist your patient. Your hazards, hello, help, you will open the patient's airway. This is how they have trained you. And you will look, listen, feel, check if there's any objects in the patient's mouth. You will clear that. You will look, listen, and feel for breathing. You will see with the COVID-19 is that we don't do the look, listen, and feel if we are not protected. Because this is the high-risk area of the mouth and nose area, and the droplets, basically, and the fluid is coming from that you can get exposed. Any questions so far pertaining to this section? The COVID-19 changes. It's important, your safety first. Any questions? Who of you have done real CPR on a patient? Or was it only in the training on the mannequins? Is there anyone that have done or part of a team of real CPR?
I did, Brother Rich, a few years ago.
And what was your experience, Pastor, of doing the CPR according to what you have been trained at that time?
Well, maybe I can share what the situation was. I was actually in the sea. We were surfing, and my friend and I, we heard calls out of about 300 meters into the sea of people screaming, "Help! Help! Help!" So we paddled out with our surfboards, and it was two couples. The one gentleman was already a meter underneath the water, so his lungs were full of water already, just about. And then the other person just passed out. So we pulled them onto our surfboards, and we actually had to try and do CPR in the sea. We tried, but that was very difficult. And we had about 400 meters to paddle back to the land. We luckily had a bit of help from the other two that could swim, but that's what we had to try and do within the sea. So the experience was something that I'll never forget, because you never know if you're actually getting it right. You're trying your best, and you sitting with so many different factors. The water that's not a solid ground for you to actually apply pressure or things like that. But unfortunately, the two that were already under the water, they passed away. Yeah, so that was not a good experience, but it was an experience.
Hey, the others, you were only involved in your, thanks Pastor for that. Others were only involved in the training perspective when he was doing your CPR.
Yes, for me it was just training.
Just the training, my sister.
Yes.
And from the training perspective with the CPR, is that how was you feeling after that 2 minutes or 4 to 5 cycles of your CPR?
During training, I was tired because I'm not used to that. It's tiring, actually.
And that's the point. That's the point we want to make, is that when you look at the CPR, is that you will get tired. And that's why the reasons for you to stop CPR, one of the reasons is that when you basically get exhausted and tired, because you can cause more damage to the patient, even although you try to save that person's life. But yeah, it's the CPR is that it's one of that emergencies where our main focus is to save a person's life. And because the patient has no breathing, the heart is not functioning, and our aim at the end of the day is that to save that person's life, to get the heart back into a function mode of pumping, and the lungs also back to in a function mode of blowing off carbon dioxide and take up oxygen to feed the brain. Because now when we've learned this CPR, the brain can only stay 4 to 6 minutes without oxygen, and then we start having some brain damage. But here we sit with a different scenario. Although we want to save a person's life, the scenario here is that our safety is also important. Not that I say when there was no COVID patients, the safety was not important, but there your safety was important from the surroundings, from is there any hazards that can affect you, like glass, motor vehicles still moving, people around and that. But here we deal with a virus that we can be infected ourselves, and we have to be more safe in this scenario. And this is where the guidance comes in, and the changes tonight that I want to update you on is that although if you was having previous experience of doing CPR, you've been trained, you're eager to save a person's life. But before you start with COVID, doing the CPR, you must make sure that you are safe. Because you can save the person's life and you can also be the next patient that we have to put under quarantine and later under isolation, or later that may end up in the hospital. So our safety is utmost important, and we have to have the minimum PPE. So from a leader's point of view, especially when you go on when the lockdown levels are lifted and we start having activities where we get back to church, where we get start again with our activities, our movements start increasing. And this is where we can have this type of emergencies. But we can come across in church, in our private capacity, where we go, or even in the ministry. And remember, Pathfinders, we are present. What will they do? There's the leader. And we have to lead. And that's why when it comes to the leadership award, you will see. That's why it's important that we are updated with our first aid and also with the latest of dealing with this emergency. The next section, that was the COVID-19 update. And remember, our priority is PPE, make sure that we are safe. And where we was blowing in the past, don't blow based from a safety point of view, and we will continue if there's no signs of life, and we will continue with the compressions, and we'll try to cover the patient's face area so that we minimize the risk of spreading from the fluid or the droplets that we have from the patient's mouth. Second part with this is the normal CPR, what we were used to and been trained. And this is the one where I focus on your drowning and your non-drowning victim. And basically, the difference between the two is number one, when you have a drowning victim, the basic problem is that there's not enough oxygen inside the body. Okay? That's why we start off, what you will see, we'll start off with open the airway and try to give the patient ventilation. Again, with the COVID-19 situation, if we don't have the PPE for proper securing and protecting the patient's airway, we don't ventilate, we only continue with your compressions. But under normal, just to update you from your previous one, is that with the drowning, the challenge here, there's not enough oxygen on board. And that's why we start with open airway with 2 ventilation. For your non-drowning patients, emergencies, this is your normal cardiac arrest, your patient collapse in the shopping mall or at home. Here we sit with oxygen on board. And the difference here is we want to start off with the compressions, get the oxygen circulated in the body so that the brain can get oxygen. Okay? Because as I said, and as you've been trained, after 4 to 6 minutes without oxygen, we can start having some brain damage. And this is the difference between the two of your water, if I can put it like that, non-water emergencies. When it comes to collapse, your patient is there and there's no signs of life. But for your COVID-19 time period, all the emergencies is that we start as first responders. Do all our safety, our hazards, our hello. I check for any signs of life and call for help. And when it comes to our actions, if we're not protected, pertaining to protecting the patient's airway, So we will cover the airway section, the nose and mouth, maybe with a towel. And we will start with compressions, your 30 compressions, still maintaining your ratio 30 to 2, but you're not going to blow in. And you work for 2 minutes or 4 to 5 cycles, and then you assess again. So this is the update that I want to share with you tonight pertaining to our CPR, cardio, respiratory, resuscitation, and emergency. Any questions? Any questions? Or are you ready for the test?
It's quite interesting to note that that priority now is not saving the life. It's actually protecting yourself while trying to save the life.
Yeah. You see, Brother Walter, and this is the difference based on the process of your COVID-19 patients. As I said, when I start up with your COVID-19 patients, it's more multiple organ failure and not only the heart that go into arrest. Like in your normal CPR cases, is where you sit with a patient that collapsed due to a heart that is not functioning anymore. So you only sit with one that you want to try to correct. But with the COVID-19, is that it's a multiple organ failure. And your CPR with the patient is that you might save the person's heart, but the organs in the patient's body, it's already been in failure. I can put it like that. And that is the difference where you will come and they will see is that if you haven't witnessed the arrest, which means you were not present, they won't start CPR. Only time when they will start CPR, with the assessment of the patient, can they correct underlying cause. For example, the medical team that will assist you might pick up that the patient collapsed due to not enough oxygen on board. Then this is something that they can correct. So they will start CPR. Okay, but if they can't correct the underlying problem, reverse it, then they won't start CPR. If it's not a witness arrest, then they won't start CPR. The same with you. From a safety. Any other questions or comments? You're more than welcome. It sounds there's no questions, so everyone understand the basic update of the CPR. The pastor can start showing the test. They can start answering. Can I load the test?
Right.
Please do
Send it
so,
through.
Brother Prince. Brother Rich.
And I was just joking, Pastor. I will, for them, just as I said, it was just the update. I haven't prepared test, as we normally do with the other students when we present it for the first time to them. It was just the update. I haven't prepared the test, but it sounds that all of them sound safe based on their response. And that assures me that whenever they come across this emergency, at least they are safe. If you are not safe, make sure that if you really want to save a person's life, especially when you go and even go your work or wherever you go with this this pandemic time, make sure that you have your basic PPE with you. Okay. You have a mask, a surgical mask. You have your gloves with you in your bag. You have at least an apron, the normal apron. You have some safety goggles that can cover all your visors if you have a visors, because this is your minimum PPE for you to start providing treatment. to a person. That's why as leaders, we have assignment from Pastor under our APLA. And this is one of the articles that I want to compile for the Pathfinder for the ministry. How safe are we for dealing with these type of emergencies, and share in the article about the virus, about the safety points of view, and also to deal with this type of emergencies. So, Pastor, this is the article that I'm busy working on in the APLA requirement. I hope that copy covers what you want from us.
Sounds good, Brother Rich. I'm glad that you're tackling that. We need that info. Well done. It's a good move.
So if there's no more questions, it brings me to the end of this presentation of tonight by sharing with you from a medical point of view. From my side is that when it comes to DCPR, my sister, you was getting tired, your training maybe for a few minutes, when it was in our environment before your COVID-19 in real CPR, we work almost up to 30 minutes, 40 minutes before we even get to the hospital. And this is where we need you as first aiders to be part of the team, because this is where we can be of a big assistance of doing the CPR actually, and we can continue with the other emergency procedures. And with our Pathfinder, our youth ministry, where we have the outings, the hikes, and all that, emergencies can happen. And there's the one incident that I never will forget about Pastor Stanley's daughter. And this is one of the incidents that always stays with me, is that anything can happen. We can go out, we all are happy, and in a sudden moment, that happiness can turn into an emergency. And we can sit with the post-traumatic stress in our youth ministry dealing with this type of emergencies. But the assurance that we want to have when we come across and we get exposed to these type of emergencies, I've done my best of what I have been trained in saving a person's life. Not standing there being trained and I'm also stressed out and run around and not providing treatment. Because the happy moment you can have in this medical field is when you have done your CPR, busy part of resuscitating your patient, and your patient's life, signs of life's return. And this is one of the happy moments. Word one, even if they haven't returned, you still have that aim of saving a person's life. But I never want you as leaders to be part of the scene that you haven't, if I should have done this and that. And that's why it's important for me to be of assistance to you tonight, and also make sure that you are safe in this pandemic time. So thank you very much for your time for the evening. I hope you've enjoyed and learned from it. And be safe out there and look after yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Rich. Before you all go, I would like to thank you for attending tonight, and Brother Richard for presenting an update on the CPR section. I just want us to maybe look at one section, because the last part of the PLA outcomes, or the requirements that you have to go through, is looking at skills. So your skills development, and these are where we will be focusing on seminars. All right, so I'm just going to share my screen. So this is just to top up the next 15 minutes there, Brother Rich.
No problem, Pastor.
I would like to share my screen, and you'll notice that I'm skipping the whole number 1 of your skills development section, and I'm jumping to number 2. Okay, so this is page 80. I'm just going to go all the way back up so you can see what I'm talking about. Your skills development has 2 sections, number 1 and number 2. Underneath number 1, we've focused on the different seminars that you have to attend and be part of. Number 2, it says, during your involvement as a staff member in the local Pathfinder Club, select any 2 areas listed above under requirement 2-1 and demonstrate the skills learned through application to specific projects, events, or situations in the Pathfinder Club. Okay, now why I'm mentioning that, I want you to think about situations. So as we're going to go through your skills development, I want you to think about situations that you might have to need to apply yourself to. So I'm just going to read on page 80. It says, this requirement is a natural conclusion of this award. So I'm actually jumping the gun, right? I'm going to the front. Sorry, I should have just shared my video with you. I'm jumping to the front. And reason being, because we have to take cognizance of what this section's all about. And it says, however, there are many persons who wish to complete this award who may not be currently active in a local club, but rather may be carrying out roles up the hierarchy. To those persons, please note, one author of leadership training states that one of the worst mistakes made by leaders is to live in the past. Attempt to survive as a leader based on events which took place at an ever-increasing distance in the past. All leaders must be current in order to be relevant. As leaders distance themselves from the day-to-day realities of Pathfinder Club action, they soon find themselves in the unevenable position of asking new leaders to put into practice that which may no longer be viable. Okay? Do as I say, not as I do. That idea. Therefore, it is essential that persons at all levels of Pathfinder ministry who wish to maintain an effective level of leadership periodically set aside time to return to a local club level of reality, if even for only short periods of time. Do not consider the thought of skipping this requirement. Take the opportunity to refresh, relive, and re-energize with a club again. So, for instance, when we're going to go through the requirements of the skills development, I want you to take note of where you can better and increase your knowledge in certain areas of the Pathfinder or adventurer clubbing. Okay, for instance, it says during your involvement as a staff member in the local Pathfinder club, and I'm also including adventurer club because Pathfinder PLA can benefit the adventurer club as well. Select any 2 areas listed above under requirement 3-1 and demonstrate the skills learned through application to specific projects, events, or situations in the Pathfinder Club. So with that, I'm going to give you a little bit of homework for the next 2 weeks. All right. Go through this seminar once again of what Brother Richard actually shared, and then also evaluate things pertaining to the clubs that you're involved in, which you can actually demonstrate an update in skill in those areas. We'll be going through seminars, but as we go through those seminars, evaluate where you can actually increase your area of expertise in certain areas in the clubs. Let's not think about the past. We have to change what was in the past so it can become better for those coming in the future. All right. I just wanted to share that because in our next session, we'll be going through the skills development part 1. Okay. And then we will end off with the skills development part 1, where we go and define which areas you should look at, or which areas you will look at in your number 2. All right. Are there any questions for Brother Richard or myself? Everything is clear as mud, especially in the storm taking place. So yes, thank you for joining. I really appreciate it.
Yes, it's clear. Thank you.
I'm glad. Thank you, Brother Walt. I hope that you guys will be blessed today and further through this evening. as we head into Tuesday. And luckily, the storm is coming to an end for us in Cape Town. I think Brother Richard might still be sitting with it during tomorrow. I'm not too sure, but it might still be there.
Yeah, most from Cape Town, it make their direction to us, Pastor. So we're still waiting for some of them. The wind have given us work, but now we expect the rain also to arrive. And it's a double work.
Yeah.
Wind and rain.
I'm jealous though, Brother Rich, because there's waves coming that side, eh?
There's big ones.
There's big ones coming that side. Great. Brother Walt, would you mind praying for us? I see that you guys have your lights back.
Our one is back. I don't know Brother Walter's one, but
No, Brother Walt's still in the dark.
Hopefully we'll get it by 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I'll probably.
Okay, let us pray.
Thank you.
Our gracious Father, what in heaven, we come before your holy throne this evening. We thank you, Heavenly Father, for your bountiful mercies, your love, and your grace. We thank you, Heavenly Father, for protecting us and for keeping us safe. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the lesson that has come unto us. Today, where Heavenly Father, we updated on some of the new regulations of CPR and Heavenly Father on how to keep safe. Heavenly Father, may we be able to apply what we have learned, Heavenly Father, into the ministry. Heavenly Father, we pray for this opportunity that you gave us to be able to study and to learn, that we can be better leaders as we work with the children. Heavenly Father, when all is said and done, we'd like to honor you and to glorify your name. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen.